Alright, so right now I have my really giant giraffe picture here. And here is the photograph. So what I do is I let you guys tell me what area on this giraffe picture would you like me to demonstrate for you guys. And then I will have you guys come up as your name gets picked, and I will demonstrate a part of your picture, the part that you feel you need the most help with, and I will record that so that you have that particular technique, and then I will upload these to School Loop like I did the other one. So some of you, if you finish with your contour line, I asked you to watch some shading demonstrations. Those were from prior years. So we're going to keep doing the same thing. So is there a particular section so you guys can see? This is pretty much, so we have this part of the face here, and we have this part, which is the muzzle. So basically here and here are not done on this giraffe. Is there any one of those places you guys like better than the other? So I'm hearing muzzle. Is that okay? Elliot had the only opinion, so therefore he gets to choose for the rest of you. Dun dun dun. All right, so one of the things I'm going to be doing is really carefully looking at my picture to see what my values are. So you guys have already numbered all your values, so it will make it a lot easier for you to go in and place those values in. Now, one of the things I want you guys to be really conscientious of is when we do tissue rub, to start off a tissue rub, we're going to be using these little scraps of paper. Should I stick my paper right there and start scribbling on top of it? No. Do you guys know why? Yeah, it's going to indent the paper underneath, and then it'll be very difficult to get the graphite into the grooves, and that'll make it look really super horrible. So you're going to need to go ahead and place this on the side of the table. Now, for you guys this year, I have 2 new tools that I got based on student request after they were like, your stuff is cooler than ours, Miss Jules. Which is, I got some woodless graphite pencils, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with these. This is just a giant stick of graphite. However, if you drop these, they will shatter because there's no wood protecting them. So these tools, because they're easy to break, are a tool that you're going to need to check out for me with your student ID. So just like the eraser pencils, if you want to check out the eraser pencils, you want to check out a woodless graphite pencil, you're going to need to hand me your student ID. You could definitely check out both at the same time with one student ID, but that's what I'm going to need. So these guys actually do have the thing right here. So this is an 8B and this is a 4B. So I just want to really quickly show you in here. So remember our tissue rub. We're going to go ahead and scribble. Take our 1 square of TP and start like this. Now see how dark this is over in here? I didn't start off with it being that dark. What I did is, if you have a really dark background, I'm going to ask you to do a tissue rub of your whole background fairly dark. And at the very end of your project, not at the beginning, but the very end, I will come around with my Seriously Hot Salsa, which is just powdered graphite. And as you can see, it's very dark. And then we can use the powdered graphite to finish filling this in. However, you need a first coat really to get that going. The other fun thing you can do is take a 8B of one of these, use the side, and then blend it in. And see how smooth that blended in as well? So the reason we don't want to use this right away is it can actually take away all the pencil lines that you drew on your picture if you're not careful. It's really messy as well. It's a powder, so if you're not careful, it gets everywhere. So that's why this is sort of at the very end when your drawing is just about finished, you can have some of this bad boy. All right. So all of the sections of my muzzle have been drawn out. So I'm going to bring this back over here. And I'm going to use a piece of scrap paper because I've already drawn in this area down here, and I don't want to smear my hand through it. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this piece of paper over. And I'm going to take a look at these areas in here. So right along here, this shape is this darker shape in here. And you can see there's a light ridge that happens. So I'm going to take my eraser pencil out of my pocket. And I'm going to go ahead and start erasing these lighter hairs right in next to this dark shape. I'm being really careful to follow the direction that the hair goes in the picture. So if the hair is going at an angle and up, you need to make sure that the hair is going at an angle and up when you draw. All right. I like to start with a 2B or a 4B and then build up my darknesses. If we look at this shape in here, what value would you guys ascribe to that? So here's my value chart. What does it look? Does it look closer to the dark end? You think in here? All right, so what I see is some areas of 4 with areas of 3 and 2, right? So I'm going to start by putting in a 3 because that's the middle. And then I can erase out to get my 2. I can go darker to get my 4. So I'm just going to do this little section right up in here. Oh, you can't even see that. I'm just going to do this little section right in here so that way I can spend more time demonstrating on your guys' work. All right, so same thing. I'm noticing that the hairs are going up, and then right here they're curving at a diagonal. So I'm just going to start by drawing some hairs in here. Because the value I already tissue rubbed in is probably about a 2, maybe a little closer to a 3, but more towards 2. Okay, so on this end they're going this way, and then over here they're coming up. Okay, I'm going to take my blending step and I'm going to blend these in. What's going to happen is the majority of my lines are going to disappear, and that's okay, but there are some of them are going to stay, which is going to give a sense of movement and direction. So I did this with a 2B to start with. I'm going to switch on over to my 4B. That's an 8B, don't want that one. And right in this area I see that there's some darker values, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to just draw those darker values in. Especially like right up in here, there's some little hairs that are darker. Move my photo over here. All right. I guess I can't put it under at the same time. Okay, so we're going to get some of these in. And on this edge where it's a little bit brighter, I'm actually going to draw some of those dark hairs into that edge. That's going to help make it look like they're folding over each other. Same thing, I'm going to come back with the blending stub. And I'm going to go ahead and gently blend out. And notice I'm blending in the same direction that the hairs are going. That's going to keep everything looking like it's going all in the same direction. Now I'm going to look at this and I see there's some couple lighter hairs. I'm going to just come in with my eraser pencil. I'm going to flick these in here, get some of these hairs in. Now if you notice, the end of my eraser is a short eraser, right? It's short because I'm doing short hairs. If I'm going to do longer hairs, I'm going to pull it out longer. Not long enough that it breaks, but long enough that if I flick my wrist, I'm going to get a more delicate, longer hair. So right now, short hair, short eraser. Okay, same thing, I'm just going to come in there. And I'm going to very gently just blend a couple of these out if they're too dark. So you can see now that we're starting to get some fur texture, right? Now this fur in here that I did, this was all done with the blending stub. I just went in with the blending stub and pushed harder to get darker marks. That's another technique you can do. You can just come in here with a dirty blending stub. If you push a little harder, you're going to get darker marks, and I flicked with the blending stub. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see. So that's what it ends up looking like from a distance. Looks pretty good, right? Not too shabby. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm interested in helping you guys out. So I'm going to put this to the side and bring over my blank piece of paper. Let's put this down here. There we go. And we're going to start with the random name picker here. All right, Wengel. Okay, so which part?
Yeah, I need you to do like this parts, like these. The one with like the nose and the mouth.
Okay, well, I can't do that whole thing. I can do a section of it.
Yeah, like do the section.
How about this section right here?
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this half section right here.
Okay, I'll just show that one.
Okay.
All right. All right, so what we're going to be looking at is this triangle section right here of the nose. So I'm going to really quickly just sketch in this very exciting nose here. So very quickly I'm going to get my contour lines in here. Alright, so we're going to do just about this section right in here. And then I'm going to sort of cheat here. I'm going to do a very quick tissue rub. Whoop. Now see what happens with your tissue rub sometimes? It's gone. But it's not completely gone because I can still see it. Alright, so inside the nostril here that we drew in, this was what value? Did you guys 7? Alright, so what pencil should I use for a 7? 6B or an 8B, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. You can get all the way to 12. But it's very, very soft and very brittle. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is there was a bright highlight up in here. And I want to preserve that highlight. So I'm just going to right now erase the general shape of it in so I don't lose my 2 really bright spots. I'm now going to take the blending stub and I'm going to go ahead and just blend the edges of this value to soften the edge and to help it give a slight gradient. Okay, if you notice, this nose area needs to be quite a bit darker in here. So I'm just going to come in with my 2B and I'm going to start using it to shade in some of these darker areas that look like they're probably about, maybe a 5 or a 6 in here. Okay, then I have some darker values around the edge of the nostril here on the edge side, and that's going to help make this nostril pop out. So I want to really make sure I get that shape correct. Okay, there is a triangle down in here that's pretty dark. It's not as dark as this, but it's fairly dark, so I'm going to flop back over to my 8B to add some value really quick, and also the same over in here. There is a little bit of a darker value there. And then, of course, the mouth that's down in here is quite dark. And I'm going to flick up some little hairs because there's some little hairs right there. All right. I'm going to switch over to my 4B. I'm going to get this other side of the nostril here. Just going to very lightly do some shading in. I might switch over in here to the side of my pencil just to get a larger area covered in a quicker amount of time. Okay, what technique do you guys think I should use next now that I've put down a lot of this value? Yeah, I need to blend. So I'm going to take my blending stub and I'm going to go ahead and just start blending the edges of where my values change, and that's going to help create that gradient. Oh, cool. Forever my hands are there.